All right, Shalom Israel, with the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. All right, this is Priest and Officer 1000 Rosh Hashanah, and tonight's class is the history class. All right, it's very important to come to history. This is where we learn our culture. This is where we learn our heritage. This is where we learn who we are. Like, it's very, very important to attend these classes and come to these classes, all right? So now tonight's class, we're going to talk about interracial marriages and marrying these other nations of people. Historically, marrying these nations of people destroyed the nation of Israel. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, we got to understand the history when it comes to marrying outside of our nation and marrying outside of our ethnic group. You understand? Like, this is something that destroys the nation of Israel. And if you do not know who the nation of Israel is, historically speaking, all right, and archaeological evidence will prove this, and so will the Bible, of course. So-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the children of Israel. So-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans are God's chosen people who are the Israelites. Like it, that's who they are. All right. And so now, with that being said, historically speaking, all right, and also make sure, Salaki, about that. Make sure if you're coming into class, all right, make sure you put your name, city, and state. Do not forget to put your name, city, and state. All right. Do not forget to put your name, city, and state. All right. And also share, like, and subscribe to these classes. Like, share, and subscribe to these classes, man. Like, share, and subscribe. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. So allow me to get right into the lesson, all right, for time's sake as well, so we can get through these scriptures. All right, the first thing we're going to go is to Tobit. All right, Tobit chapter 4, all right, and I want to say verse 11. All right, Tobit chapter 4, and let me see, verse 12. It's like it, verse 12. All right, verse 12, Tobit chapter 4, verse 12. Now, like I was saying before, historically speaking, when it comes to marrying outside of our nation and marrying these other nations of people, marrying our oppressor, marrying the so-called Africans, marrying the so-called East Indians, marrying the so-called Chinese and Japanese, and marrying the so-called Vietnamese and Koreans, marrying the Irish, marrying the Polish, marrying the British, marrying the English, marrying the Italians, marrying the Sicilians, marrying the French, marrying the Germans, like marrying outside of our nation, the people historically destroyed the nation of Israel. That's because the Lord has always put in place rules and regulations and laws for us to live by. Salakia, children, Salakia, Yaladia, Babu Kusha. Make sure you are very, very quiet, all right? Babu Kusha, all right? So now, with that being said, all right, like historically speaking, man, the Lord set up rules and regulations and laws for us to live by. Like the Lord put it into place that we are not supposed to marry. And I want to backtrack real quick. When you marry someone, marrying is not putting a ring on someone's finger. Marrying is not putting a legal document down. That's not what marriage is. Can marriage involve documentation? Yes. Does marriage involve a ring? No, not according to the Bible. But marriage in the Bible and marriage according to the Bible is sex. When a man decides to lay down with a woman, and when a woman decides to lay down with a man, that's what consummates the marriage. That's what marriage is. And the Lord has a problem with us marrying these other nations of people. The Lord has a problem when we go outside and start marrying the Irish, marrying the Germans, marrying the Portuguese, marrying the Italians, marrying the Spaniards, marrying the Germans, marrying the French, marrying the British, marrying the English, marrying the Russians, marrying the Japanese, marrying the Chinese, marrying the Vietnamese, marrying the Koreans, marrying these Vietnamese, like marrying these other nations of people, marrying the East Indians, marrying the so-called Africans, marrying the people from Somali, marrying the Ethiopians, marrying the Nigerians, marrying the Algerians, marrying the Egyptians. Like the Lord has a problem when we go outside of our nation of people, when we go outside of so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and decide to marry one of their men or marry one of their women. Like the Lord is absolutely against it. That's because according to our records and according to our culture, we stayed amongst ourselves. We stayed amongst our own people. We made families and we made marriages with our own people. We never made families outside with another nation of people. We were never supposed to make marriages and make families with some Irish woman or some German woman or some French woman. Like the Lord was not with that. The Lord is absolutely against that. All right. The Lord wants you to make marriages with a Puerto Rican if you are so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native American. The Lord wants you to make marriages with the Mexicans. The Lord wants you to make marriages with the Costa Ricans, with the Peruvians, with the Brazilians, with the Colombians, with the Cubans, with the Dominicans. You understand? With the Iroquois, with the Lakota, with the Navajo, with the Blackfoot, with the Muskogee, with the Mohawkins, with the Mohegans, with the Wampanoag. You understand? The Lord wants you to make marriages with the Negroes in America, with the Trinidadians, with the Jamaicans, with the Haitians. The Lord wants you to make marriages with your own people. The Lord wants you to build families up and to make families with your own people. Historically speaking, that destroyed the nation of Israel. And that's why the black, Hispanic, and Native community today is destroyed. Because one of the things that we're doing is we're making marriages with another nation of people. The Lord said in Tobit chapter 4, verse 12, beware of all whoredom. The Lord said to beware of all whoredom, meaning beware of anything that's considered a whoredom, like having sex with whores. Beware of all whoredom, you understand? Like prostitution, beware of all whoredom. You understand? Homosexuality, so-called, like a man having sex with a man. You understand? Beware of all whoredom. A woman having sex with a woman. Beware of all whoredom. Like that's something very important to understand. The Lord wants you to beware of all whoredom. That's what the Lord wants us to be, man. You understand? Look, hey, I love. Come here. Come here. Stay seated. Stop moving around. Stop, stay right here. Everyone stay seated. No more running and moving around. Like the Lord said to beware of all whoredom. Like there's different types of whoredoms out there. The Lord does not want us to commit any kind of whoredom because that's according to our records and that's according to our laws. The Lord does not want us to commit whoredom. It says beware of all whoredom, like incest. A father having sexual intercourse with his daughter, or a mother having sexual intercourse with her son. Like this is all heathen customs and culture and practices. But the Lord said to beware of all whoredom. Our sick oppressors fantasize about things like that. Our oppressor fantasizes having sex with their mother. You understand? Our oppressor fantasizes having sex with their father. That's why it's all over the internet. That's why it's so talked about. Like our oppressor fantasizes about that disgusting filth. They make videos about it. You understand? Our oppressor talks about and loves that disgusting filth. The Lord said, beware of all whoredom. The Lord wants nothing to do with that, man. Pedophilia. You understand? Pedophilia. A grown man having sex with a child. A grown woman having sex with a child. The Lord said, beware of all whoredom. Like these are the things that we are to be aware of. This is a order from the Lord. This is wise counsel from the Lord. Like this is an inspiration of the Lord for you to beware of all whoredoms, meaning beware of it. Know that it exists and stay away from it. To be aware of something, meaning there's danger ahead. When the Lord says to be aware of something, meaning there's danger coming if you're not aware. If you're not aware that there's a dog here, then the danger is you're going to get bit. Does everyone understand that? If you are not aware that there's cars cross, if you're not, another example. If you are not aware that this is a deer infested place, and at night deer come out to play and jump on the road and have some fun. If you're not aware of that, the danger is you're going to take your vehicle and run into those deer, and now your vehicle is destroyed. It says, beware of all whoredom. To be aware of something is to be aware of the danger ahead. And the Lord says, beware of all whoredom because there's danger ahead when you're not aware of the whoredom. There's danger ahead when you want to practice a man having sex with a man. There's danger ahead when you want to practice a woman having sex with a woman. There's dangers ahead when you want to practice pedophilia. There's dangers ahead when a grown woman wants to have sex with a child. There's dangers ahead when a grown man decides and he wants to have sex with a child. There's dangers ahead when a man or a woman decides to marry and have sex with a woman or a man outside of his or her nation of people, her ethnic group. You understand? There's danger ahead of that. It says, "Beware of all whoredom, my son." It says, "My son." Now, it's not directly talking about Salaki. It's not directly talking about a son. All right, this goes for our sons and daughters. The Lord is talking to the children of Israel here within context. The Lord wants us to understand this. The Lord wants us to absolutely fathom what's going on and what's being said right here. It says, "My son," meaning this is someone's child. The nation of Israel is God's child. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American are the children of the Most High that the Lord is the Father of. That's why he's giving us these directions. That's why he's telling us what to do. That's why he's giving us these instructions, because he loves us and he wants us to be aware of the danger ahead that's going on when you decide to not be aware of these whoredoms. When you're not aware of these whoredoms, you understand? It says, "My son," and chiefly, it says, "and chiefly take a wife." It says chief, meaning this is something you greatly do. This is something you're supposed to do well. This is what you're supposed to exceedingly do so well and so good that there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that you're going to grow up and you're going to be the type of man or even be the type of woman to get someone, right? It says, I'm going to finish it. It says, "and chiefly take a wife," meaning to take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, meaning you are the type of person that will take a wife or a husband of your own people. It says the seed of thy fathers. Salakia. It says the seed of thy fathers. The seed comes from the man. The seed comes from the father. You understand? You are who your father is. It says the seed of thy fathers. The seed of thy fathers, meaning the man, the people, the father, who's the father of the nation, the father of your people. That's who you're supposed to marry. That's who you're supposed to take upon to wife. You understand? The seed. It says the seed of thy fathers. Meaning, if the seed does not come from your forefathers, that means you are not supposed to be dealing with that people in any kind of manner, especially in any kind of sexual way. Because remember, sex is marriage. When you decide to lay down with a man or to lay down with a woman, that makes a marriage. You understand? That's what marriage is. When you decide to break some woman's back out or you decide to let a rod go inside of you, that's marriage. Point blank, period. I don't care what your oppressor says. I don't care what America says. Unless you believe America is more important than God and you believe America's words are more powerful than God, God said when a man lays down with a woman and a woman lays down with a man, that's what marriage is. That's what completes the marriage. It says to chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. You understand? Because we are not supposed to go outside of our nation. The father of our nation is Israel. You understand? That's who our father is. And the 4 wives Israel had, he had in total had 12 sons. And those 12 sons got a whole bunch of wives and created a whole bunch of children. And then we all started to breed with each other. And then the nation got so much bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You understand? That's how a nation was built from the very beginning. Some of y'all probably like, "Oh my God, that's crazy, that's crazy." Allow me to explain something to you. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, we are family. All right? We are family. We are distant cousins in some way, shape, and form. We all come from the same people because we all have the same father. Now, no one is saying that you should go to your cousin and be like, "I want to make you a wife." No one is saying to do that. No one is saying as a woman, go up to your male cousin and be like, "Hey, I want you to be my husband." There are so many other brothers and sisters that are not in your immediate family. What I mean by brothers and sisters, there's so many cousins and family, that's not your actual family that you can go and make a husband and a wife out of. Do not be that brother or that sister that's like, "You know what? I want to keep it within the family." If you just go outside in the Black community, that's keeping it in the family. All right. If you just get another black, Hispanic, or Native American man or woman, that's you keeping it in the family. That's you keeping it in the family, Aqua. Okay. So I want to make that very clear. But the reason why I broke that down because I want everyone to understand how families were built from the beginning. You understand? Like families were built this way from the very beginning. All right. Now there's millions and there's billions of us now. We don't have a issue. All right, trying to find someone within our family. I can go outside right now and find me a black, Hispanic, and Native American woman to marry if I wanted to. I don't have to go into my immediate family. All right, and that goes for you, Agua. You can go outside and you can easily find a black, Hispanic, and Native American man to marry. That's within your family. That's the seed of thy father. That's what you should do. What you shouldn't do is go into our oppressors community and find some Irish boy or some Swedish boy or some German boy or some British boy or some English boy. Like that's not what you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go try to find you some Ethiopian woman or some Nigerian woman or some Algerian woman or some Korean woman or some Vietnamese woman. Like that's what you shouldn't do because the Lord said, chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers and take not a strange woman to wife, and take not a strange woman to wife. So you're not supposed to get that Nigerian. You're not supposed to get that Algerian. You're not supposed to get that Somalian. You're not supposed to get that Egyptian. You're not supposed to get that Kenyan. Salakia. You're not supposed to get that Irish. You're not supposed to get that German. You're not supposed to get that Russian. You're not supposed to get that Polish. You're not supposed to get that Swedish. You're not supposed to get the English and the British. What you're supposed to do is get you a Puerto Rican. What you're supposed to do is get you a Haitian. What you're supposed to do is to get you a Jamaican. What you're supposed to do is get you someone from Trinidad. What you're supposed to do is get you a Peruvian. What you're supposed to do is get you a Dominican. What you're supposed to do is get you a Cuban or a Colombian. What you're supposed to do is get you a Costa Rican. What you're supposed to do is get you a so-called Negro in America. That's what you're supposed to do. What you don't do is go outside of your nation. All right. To wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. Like this was always one of our customs. Like you were never supposed to take a woman or a man from another man's tribe. You were supposed to take a man or a woman from your father's tribe, meaning your people, from your nation, from your ethnic, from other so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Like this is what the Lord established from the beginning. Like it always been that way. From the very beginning, the Lord did not believe in mixing our seed with another nations of people. What people don't understand in the beginning, the Lord destroyed, like it, the Lord destroyed and flooded the earth because we decided to go outside of our nation. You understand? That's who the sons of God are, by the way. The sons of God are not these angels. The son of God are not these. The son of God are not the angels falling from the sky. The son of God ain't some rant spirits coming from heaven. The son of God are the people who God deals with. The sons of God are the people who God decided to deal with and who He chose to be His people. The sons of God come from Adam. That's in the Bible. That's in the Scripture. Do you understand? It says right here, for we are the children of the prophets. This is the reason why, because we are the children of the prophets. This is why it's so important for us to not go outside of our nation and decide to marry someone outside of our nation of people and to build a family outside of our nation of people because we come from a certain bloodline, right? That's so powerful and so special and so great. How dare you go outside of it? Because for we are the children of the prophets of Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now in the Bible it says Noe. All right, Noe when it's saying Noah, that's the saying Noah. Right, that's talking about Noah. You remember Noah, right? Noah started the entire population over again once the Lord wiped everyone else out because there were too many of his people going outside marrying other nations of people. We were going to the British, the Irish, the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the British, the English, the French, the German, the Irish, the Ethiopians, the the whatever the case, the Egyptians, the Nigerians, the Algerians, the Ghanaians. We were going to Kenya. We were mixing families. You understand? We were marrying, all right, and we were, and which is having when you make a marriage, all right. We were marrying these other nations of people, and the Lord was against it, and the Lord does not allow it. Right here, because here's why. Remember, my son. The Lord is saying, remember this. Like this is something to chiefly remember. This is something to greatly remember. Like this is something we have to remember why we are not to go outside of our nation. It says, remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning. It says, remember, all right? This is something to remember that our fathers from the beginning, you understand? Even that, they all married wives of their own kindreds from the very beginning, you understand? From the very beginning, our people, our fathers always took wives and always took women of their own family, of their own nation of people. Adam did it, you understand? His sons did it. Noah did it. Abraham did it. Isaac did it. Jacob did it. And we all took nations. We all took women and wives from our own nation, from our own nations, which is our tribes, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. We never went outside of it. The Lord was against it when you did. The Lord was angry when you decided to get a wife or to get a husband outside of your nation. The Lord was absolutely against it. And were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. Like this is why. Because when you decide to marry someone of your own people, your children are blessed. And their seed shall inherit the land. Meaning there's an inheritance that comes after marriage, man. Like once upon a time, we had our own land. We had our own businesses. We had our own schools. We had our own cities. We had our own places to eat. We had our own parks. We had our own restaurants. At one point in time, the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, we had an inheritance of our own. We had a city and a town of our own. We had a neighborhood of our own. We had restaurants of our own. We had stores of our own. We had laundromats of our own. We had businesses of our own. We had corporations of our own. We had LLCs of our own. Like we had an entire community to ourselves and for ourselves. And the Lord said, and their seed shall inherit the land. When you decide to marry outside of your nation of people, now that inheritance goes to someone else outside of your people. Now that business is no longer in your family. Now that business is intertwined with someone else's family, with someone else's nation. If you got a German and an Irish, if you, let's lock it. If you got an Ethiopian and an Irish woman, let's say you got an Ethiopian man and an Irish woman, and he has a business, and he marries that Irish woman. You understand? And he has a business. Now the son or the daughter will inherit that business. And now eventually, because of that interracial marriage, and because of that opposite nation marriage, now that son or daughter is going to believe that she can also marry and get someone else outside of her nation. And then eventually, later on, now that business is no longer in your country. Now that business is in someone else's country. That doesn't come from your people. Like this is why the Lord said, and their seed shall inherit the land. Like this was a very common thing that we would keep things within the family, within the nation, so we can prosper from it and not anyone else. Like that's why it's so important to understand that. Like the Lord is against us, the Lord is against our people, you understand, marrying outside of our nation. The Lord is against it. In the same way, all right? All right, 1 second. Like that's why the Lord is against, that's why the Lord does not want you to marry anyone else outside of your nation, man. The Lord is absolutely against it. Like the Lord is absolutely against it. The Lord is not with it because the Lord from the beginning, man. Let me get that scripture real quick when it comes to the sons of God, man. All right. I wasn't going to get into that, but I'm going to get that scripture of the sons of God. All right. Let me see. Let me get that real quick. I believe it's in Romans. And then I'm going to get it also, Adam, he was the son of God. I believe in Luke. Bear with me real quick. I want to get. That's enough, Salaki. Let's get that scripture about the sons of God. Let's get. I think it's Romans chapter 7. All right. Let's get Romans chapter 7 real quick, man. Romans chapter 7. That's what I believe it's in. Romans chapter 7. Let's get about the sons of God real quick. When it says whoever does his will is the son of God. All right. Let's get that real quick so I can bear with me. All right. But keep in mind, like this is what the Lord wants, man. The Lord does not want you to go outside of your nation of people. Let me get that scripture. All right. Let me get that scripture real quick. All right. Let me see. There we go. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 14. That's the one I want. All right. It says Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 14. And it says right here, for as many are led by the Spirit of God, meaning when you are led by the Spirit of the Most High. Now remember, when it's coming right here, the Lord is talking about a certain nation of people. Right? When it comes to speaking in Romans chapter 8, verse 14, the Lord is talking to the children of Israel. Like Paul is talking to the children of Israel right here. That's why he says he comes to the people who know the law. You understand? He wasn't coming from anyone else. Paul was like, what I mean by coming, like Paul was not talking to anyone else but the children of Israel. The Lord was focused, Paul's focus was speaking and teaching to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's why the Lord says in Romans chapter 8, verse 14, who as many are led by the Spirit of the Most High, they are the sons of God. Meaning if you are led by the Spirit, you can be called the son of God. You understand? You can be considered a son of God. The Son of God is not an angel. Like this is what I'm saying. The Son of God is not an angel. The Son of God is not some spirit that comes from heaven. The Son of God is someone in the flesh. The Son of God has to be a physical person. That's why when you go to Son of God, you understand? Because everyone's like, oh, well, Christ is the only Son of God. No, Adam was also called the Son of God. And the reason why I'm getting this information, because I'm going to prove that the Lord flooded the entire earth as well, because we decide to go outside of our nation. And I believe it's also, let me get it real quick, bear with me. Bear with me. I believe it's in chapter Luke, talking about Adam. All right. Adam was also a son of God. All right. Adam was called a son of God. In Luke chapter 3, verse 38, it says right here, all right, Luke chapter 3, which was the son of Enos. which was the son of Seth. All right, this is a lineage, by the way, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. Like Adam was called the son of God, which was the son of God. Adam was a son of God. That's why when the Lord was talking about in Genesis, he was talking about the people that come from Adam, because Adam was the son of God. That's who Adam was. That's why the Lord has said in Romans chapter 8, verse 14, whoever is led by the Spirit of the Most High can be the son of God. Meaning this is talking about a physical person. This is talking about someone of the flesh. This is talking about someone that's coming from humanity. You understand? So with that being said, when we go to Genesis chapter 6, man, like when we go to Genesis chapter 6, like the Lord destroyed the entire earth. The Lord flooded the earth because men who he chose, who he gave rules and regulations to live by, right, decided to go outside of that structure and to go outside of that foundation. Like the men who the Lord chose and who the Lord decided to deal with, the nation of people that came from Adam, which are the sons of God, you understand, decided to marry outside of their nation of people. It says Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. So men started to multiply, they started to get their wives and build their families, and they started to have daughters. Of course, they had sons as well, but but were focusing on the daughters at this point. They had plenty of daughters. In any type of species, the most created out of that species is the female species. Like that's how you multiply. That's how you build a family. That's how you build a nation in any species. That's why the woman species is the most created because you need women to have children. You cannot have 16 sons and 20 daughters with just one woman. That's completely impossible. You have to have more than one woman and more than one wife in order to get that job done. In any species, the woman was the most created species, all right, to build up strong and big families in any nation. You understand? Verse 2. Salaki. Verse 2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men. So the sons of God. Who are the sons of God? The men that come from Adam. The sons that come from Adam. Because remember, we just read in Luke chapter 3, verse 38, Adam was the son of God. We just read in Romans chapter 8, verse 14, whoever is led by the Spirit can be the son of God. This is how you know the sons of God isn't talking about the angels. The sons of God isn't talking about the spirits coming from heaven. The sons of God isn't some extraterrestrial life coming from outer space. The sons of God is talking about a human. The sons of God is talking about someone coming from humanity. The sons of God specifically are the sons that come from Adam. That's who the sons of God are. You understand? All right, Yeladia. Yeladia. Everyone needs to be quiet. That's enough. All right, princess, sit down. Hadazan, sit down. All right, the water. That the sons of God, so now the sons of God, meaning the children, all right, of Adam, the sons of God saw the daughters of men. Like they saw the daughters of men. You understand? Saw the daughters of men. Who are the men? They're not the sons of God. That's who the men are. The daughters of men are another nation of people. So the sons of God that came from Adam, the sons that come from Adam, all right, the men that come from Adam, who the Lord is dealing with, saw daughters that come from men, right? That come from another nation of people. You understand? That they were fair. They looked at them and they said they were beautiful. And they took them wives of all which they chose. So when they saw these daughters and they saw these daughters of another nation of people, they decided to marry them and they decided to lay down with them and make a marriage with them and build a family with them. As many wives that they chose to have. That's what they did. Verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. The Lord says, I'm not going to allow any man live as long as I used to let him live for like a 700 or 800-year-old man, or maybe like a 200, 300-year-old man, that's going to be out of the ordinary. What will be normal and what will be ordinary now, that a man will at least live up to 120 years if he has good health, if he keeps God's law, statutes, commandments, and all these type of guidelines that the Lord said that if we want to multiply the days of our life on earth, keep my commandments and keep my laws. Like this is how you live to 120. The reason why we're dying at 80 and 90 and 70 and 60 and 50 as low as 16 is because we want to go against the Most High. Verse 4, there were giants in the earth. All right, there were giants in the earth in those days. Also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. So now, because of this, there were giants on the earth, meaning they were known men on the earth. There were men that were very high in position. You understand? And when it comes to giants, it can talk about giants spiritually as in someone that's well known, someone that's popular, someone that's great in power, or a giant can literally mean someone that's very, very tall. Like it's not abnormal for someone to be very, very tall. Like a giant, like Shaq is a giant. If we were like regular people don't grow to 7 foot or 7'5" or 8 foot. There were some nations on the earth way back when where it was a normality, right, that they grew up to 8 foot tall. Like there was a African tribe within Africa called the Watusi tribe, and their men grew very, very tall up to like 7 foot. Like that was the average. You understand? So, but that's not. But in this context, it's not talking about those kind of giants. The giants in this context is talking about someone that's well known, someone that has a lot of power, someone that's really great. And when those daughters came to the sons of God, they made families. You understand? All right, they created families. They bare children to them. Like this is what happened. All right. Verse 5. Verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, because this was wickedness. It was a very wicked act for you as a son of God, for you to be of the nation that the Lord chose to be special and great on the earth, to go outside and marry another nation of people. For you to go out and take a wife of another nation of people. So lucky. That's why the Lord said, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. Because this was a great wickedness. For you to go outside of your nation and to marry a woman or to even marry a man outside of your nation, this was great wickedness to the Lord. That's why the Lord said, all right, I'm gonna continue going. Every imagination, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, because the Lord said this was so evil, this was so wickedness. All he had was evil thoughts about this. Like he was going to rectify this problem. You understand? All right. Let's get down to verse 7. That's why the Lord said in verse 7, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creeping thing and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. Like this is how serious this crime was. Like this is how serious this crime was. For you to marry, for you to go outside of your nation and to go to go outside of your nation and to marry a woman outside of your nation of people was such a terrible crime that the Lord said, I'm going to destroy everything. Man, beast, creeping, crawling thing, whatever it was, because of this act. I want every brother and sister to understand how important it is to not go outside of your nation of people and to marry someone that's not of your people, that does not come from the seed of thy fathers. Like that, like the Lord wants us to remember this, because from the beginning, that was the law. It's right here in Genesis chapter 6 that we were never supposed to go outside of our nation. Like that's why the Lord decided to flood the earth. You understand? Verse 8, rather, right? But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. You understand? Verse 9, these are the generations of Noah was a this was the slacket. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. So let me explain something to you. So let me explain something. Noah was perfect. Noah kept God's laws. That's what he did. That's what Noah did. Noah was the son of God, one of the sons of God that decided to keep God's laws, statutes, commandments, and to keep the law that says we are not to go outside and marry outside of our nation of people. That's what the Lord says. Let's get down. All right. Verse 11. The earth also was corrupt before God. Let's get down to 11. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Because of us marrying outside these nations of people, we start to adapt to their ways and their culture and their heritage, which involved violence. All right. It was a heathen's culture and practice to be so violent. When I mean by violent, I'm not saying that we're not men of war and we don't know how to fight and defend and protect ourselves. That's not violence. That's called being able to fight and be able to go to war and to defend yourself. But to just randomly murder someone and to kill someone for no reason at all, and to take someone's land and nation away for no reason at all, and it was not your land to begin with, and you did nothing to deserve that, that's violence. That's what violence is. You understand? All right? And this was going on the earth. Verse 12, and God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his ways upon the earth. Not all flesh, not just the sons of God, but all these other nations as well decide to go outside of what the Lord structured. Like the Lord gave the sons of God to be an example to everyone else. Like the sons of God were supposed to be the rulers of the earth. The sons of God were supposed to be the rulers, the authority on the earth. The men and the sons that come from Adam, we were supposed to rule the earth at this time. We were supposed to be in charge. We were given the law. We were given the structure, but we decided to go outside of that. And so the Lord said, all right, the Lord said in verse 13, and God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. That's what the Lord said. Now, of course, if we continue reading, let's get down to verse 17. And behold, even I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. Wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. And the earth shall be filled with life, and I will destroy all flesh, and the earth shall be full of life. That's what the Lord said he was going to do, because the sons of God decide to go outside of their nation, all right, to go outside of who the Lord set up, right? They decide to go outside of their nation and to go outside of who the Lord said to deal with. Not set up, so like it. Who the Lord told us to deal with, you understand? Like this is something very important to understand right here, man. Like the Lord flooded the earth, Lucky. The Lord flooded the earth because our people decide to marry and to marry women and men outside of who the Lord said to marry and to lay down with, to make marriages with, and to make families with. Like this is the problem that we have. All right. And the problem, and we have this problem in Genesis chapter 6. And that's why the Lord flooded the earth. It was such a great crowd that the Lord said he was going to destroy everything. But because he found one man that followed his laws and did not marry outside of his nation, he decided to wipe everyone else out still, but his family. That's how serious it was to not marry outside of your nation and to go outside and to marry another woman or another man that's not of your nation of people. The Lord is absolutely against it. Let's get the next scripture, man. All right. Let's get Salakia. Bear with me. The next scripture I want. Let's get Numbers. Let's get Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. All right. And make sure you guys take all these notes, man. Right? Make sure you take all these notes and have this in your repertoire. These are all, I'm giving you all the precepts, all right? I'm giving you all the majority of the precepts of interracial marriage found in the Bible, all right? All right? I'm giving you all of this, all right? Let's get Numbers chapter 25. Bear with me real quick. All right. Let's get Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. Salaki. Let's get Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim. So now this is talking about the nation of Israel. This is where we were in the wilderness as well. All right. And Moses was in charge. Now, by this time, we are being in the process. We are right now, we are in the process of learning and knowing the law. All right. We are in the process of knowing the law, being taught the law, what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do, what we can do, what we cannot do. Like during this time in the book of Numbers, like Moses right now is teaching the nation of Israel and raising up other priests and prophets under him to teach and guide the nation of Israel on God's laws, statutes, and commandments, and to build up the nation by keeping the laws of God. All right. It says, and Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom. It says the people talking about the children of Israel, all right, began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. Like this is something that we gotta understand. The Lord said in Tobit to beware of all whoredom. All right. It said begin to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. Now, this is how you know the whoredom with the daughters of Moab is talking about them having sex with Moab. Moab would be the so-called Chinese today. And it says commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab, meaning we were committing whoredom, meaning having unlawful sex with the daughters of Moab. Unlawful sex is making a marriage with another nation of people. Unlawful sex could be having sex with a woman and throwing her away. Unlawful sex could be having sex with two women and throwing them away and not keeping them as your wives. Unlawful sex can be having sex with two women at the same time and having some filthy, disgusting threesome. Like these are different ways you can commit whoredom with a woman. You understand? These are just examples of unlawful sex. These are just examples of whoredom when it comes to the sexual context. All right. There is a kind of whoredom that deals with you disobeying the Lord and going outside of what He said to do. That's committing whoredom with another God. But this is where that comes from. commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. When we start to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab, this is what happens. Verse 2. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. We started to go after their gods. We started to worship their gods and follow their gods and worship their gods and sacrifice to their gods. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. Like, this is the dangers that come from marrying outside of your nation of people. You decide to stop following who the Lord said to follow, which is the Most High. The Most High said to follow him. The Most High also said for you to listen to the man who he put in charge. But instead of listening to what Moses said, by not dealing with these other nations, and by not doing what the Lord said, which is not to marry outside of your nation of people, we end up serving other gods outside of the God of the Bible. This is what the Lord wanted us to be aware of. There are dangers that come when we decide to marry outside of our nation of people. Verse 3. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. Salaki, a little under the weather. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. So the Baal Peor is a Moabite god. All right? Baal Peor is a Moabite god, which is not the God of Israel, which is not the God of the Bible, who we are supposed to follow. But instead, we are joining ourselves with another God. Like, this is what happens when we join ourselves with another nation of people. This is what happens when we join ourselves with their men. This is what happens when we join ourselves with their women and we make marriages with their men and we make marriages with their women. Like, this is what happens. Once we start to join ourselves with them marriage-wise, once we start to join ourselves with them as a nation, we end up serving their gods. That's why blacks and Latinos and Native Americans are Catholics and Christians today, because we joined ourselves with them. If we never joined ourselves with them, we would have came to the realization that we were not supposed to be Catholics. We were not supposed to be Christians. But instead, because we joined ourselves with them and we wanted to marry their women and our sisters wanted to end up marrying their men, we end up continuing to be Christians. And we ended up continuing to be Catholics. And we end up continuing to join ourselves with gods outside of the God of the Bible. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. It says, joined himself unto Baal Peor. The reason why it says himself and not in the woman context, because why? Because this is specifically talking about the brothers and the men going outside and not marrying sisters, but marrying the so-called Chinese woman, the Moabites. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, because this is what makes the Lord angry. When we go outside of our nation, and when we go outside to marry another woman outside of our nation as a brother, that angers the Lord. The Lord is angry when you get an Irish woman. The Lord gets angry when you get a German. The Lord gets angry when you get an Irish. The Lord gets angry when you get a British. The Lord gets angry when you get a Swedish. The Lord gets angry when you get a Polish. The Lord gets angry when you get a German. The Lord gets angry when you get a British. The Lord gets angry when you get an English. The Lord gets angry when you get an Italian. The Lord gets angry when you get a French. The Lord gets angry when you get a Russian. The Lord gets angry when you get a Korean. The Lord gets angry when you get a Japanese. The Lord gets angry when you get the Chinese. The Lord gets angry when you get a Korean. The Lord gets angry when you get a Vietnamese. The Lord gets angry when you get an Ethiopian. The Lord gets angry when you get a Nigerian. The Lord gets angry when you get an Algerian. The Lord gets angry when you get a Kenyan. The Lord gets angry when you get an Egyptian. The Lord gets angry when you get an East Indian. The Lord gets angry when you get a Pakistani. The Lord gets angry when you get an Arab. The Lord gets angry when you decide to marry someone outside of your nation of people. That's what the Lord wants you to understand. That's why it's in the Bible. That's why it's in our history. That's why in our records. Because this is something we have to know. Because this is something that gets the Lord angry. We wonder why the black community isn't going anywhere. And we wonder why the Latino and the Native American community isn't going anywhere, because we are making the Lord angry. The Lord is angry with us. We believe Christianity is the way. We think being a Catholic is the way, and we can marry who we want to, and we can lay down who we want to. We can have sex. We can have sex with whores and prostitutes when we want to. We can go ahead and watch pornography on the internet when we want to. So that gets the Lord angry, and the Lord will send punishment and pestilence and destruction. You understand? When we continue to do these things, that's why I said the Lord was kindled against Israel. The Lord was kindled against Israel. The anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. Verse 4. And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people, meaning take all the heads of the people, take all the men who's in charge of the people, and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, meaning hang them in the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. Because, now remember, this is why it's so important to be the head of something, to be in charge of something, to be in power of something, to be the authority of something. Who's ever under you, you are responsible for. Their actions, you are responsible for their actions. Like that's something Captain Ash taught me. That's something Captain Nakazaka Shah taught me. Something Captain Mashak taught me. General Yohana and the generals down taught me. That if you have someone under you, you are responsible for their actions. And you are responsible for what they do. Because you are supposed to be teaching them and guiding them and teaching them everything they're supposed to be doing right, so they don't do the wrong. That's why the Lord said, get the heads of the people and put them in the sun, so the fierceness of the Lord can be turned away. Why? Because they were responsible for these crimes. They were responsible for what the people are doing. They are responsible for those brothers having sex and making marriages with the Moabite woman and bowing down to the god Baal Peor, which is the god of the Moabites. They are responsible for it. Do you understand? Verse 5. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. The Lord also said Moses said unto Moses, and Moses said unto the judges of Israel, meaning this was the act of a judge. Moses said, this is what you do as a judge. Slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor, because it was a crime and it was a death penalty offense for you to go outside and serve the God of another nation of people. And the only reason why we end up serving these other gods outside of the nation, outside the God of Israel, because we decide to make marriages with them. We decide to commit whoredoms with them, and the Lord was absolutely against it. Verse 6. Behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren. So now, out of all the chaos that's going on right now, all the wrong that is happening right now, all the Moabite women that the men were having sex with and making marriages with, all the God worshippers of Baal Peor, all this chaos, all this nonsense, all this evil that's going on at this time. There's a brother that comes out of the children of Israel, all right? And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses. So out of all this goddamn problems going on, and all this goddamn evil that's going on, some happy, jolly, idiotic, dumb, stupid brother decides to bring a Midianitish woman in front of Moses. A Midianitish woman, a woman that comes from Midian, a woman that's a Midianite, a woman that is not of God's chosen people, a woman that is not an Israelite. And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel. So out of all the congregation of Israel, including Moses, everyone sees this brother bring a woman that is not of the children of Israel in front of everybody. While all this evil and chaos is going on because we decide to make marriages with another nation of people. All right. Verse 6. Like it. Verse 6. Who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, because there was so much evil and so much chaos going on because there was already several something brothers making marriages with the Moabites. And they're weeping because the heads of those brothers and of those families and of those people were being hung in front of the sun so the evil can be brought away. And now this silly brother, on top of this, comes and brings another nation, a woman from another nation, in front of everybody. Well, guess what the Lord, this is what a brother did. Verse 7. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, so this was a priest that saw this, right? He rose up from among the congregation. So while everyone was weeping, while everyone was crying and saying, "Oh my God, let's select you most high. This please have forgiveness on us. Please don't kill us. Please get rid of all this evil from us." While we're all weeping and crying to the Lord, Peter says, "You know what? This some bull. This brother really just decided to bring this woman. Oh my God, this stupid mother." So guess what? Peter got up out of everybody. He's the one that got up, all right? Rose up among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. A javelin is like a spear, all right? A javelin is a weapon of war. A javelin is something that you use to stab someone with. You would usually sometimes throw it to stab someone from far away. Like that's what a javelin would be. It's like a long spear that you could throw, and the spear would penetrate someone's body to kill them. All right. Verse 8. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent. So he followed the brother into the tent and thrust both of them through the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. Like this brother said, you know what? I'm gonna end this right now. I'm gonna end this plague right now. You understand? He took the javelin and he stuck it through the brother and that woman from another nation, and through that Midianite woman. Like that's how serious it was for us not to go outside and marry outside of our nation of people. Like that's how important it was that a brother would get up, right, to stop the evil that's going on, and stop the plagues that was going on. The Lord rose up and took the javelin and threw it and thrust it through the man and through the belly of the woman. You understand? Because it was so evil in what was going on. Verse 9. And those that died in the plague were 24,000. The plague was 24,000 of the children of Israel died because we decided to go outside and marry outside of our nation. That's what, like that's heavy right there. Like this 24,000 of the children of Israel was put to death and died from the plague because we wanted to get a Moabite woman, because we wanted to get an Irish woman, because we wanted to get a German woman, because we wanted to get a Russian woman, we wanted to get an African woman, we wanted to get a Korean woman, we wanted to get some we wanted to get Becky and Rachel, we wanted to get Scotty. Like this is what happens. Instead of getting Kiki, instead of getting Kyasia, you understand? Besides getting Shauna, right? Besides getting whoever of our own people, we decided to go outside of our nation of people, and 24,000 died from that plague. That's how serious it is. You understand? Like that's how serious it was for us not to marry outside of our nation of people. Like the Lord is serious about this. All right. All right. And now to continue as well. And what the brother did was so righteous and so great in the Lord, in the sight of the Lord. If you continue down to 11 down to 13, all right, that shows the Lord saying how appreciative that he was towards that brother, and he blessed that brother and established the priesthood from the son of that brother, all right, everlasting priesthood from that brother's children. that comes from him because of how zealous he was to end the plague. All right, for that nonsense of us going outside of the nation who the Lord said for us to marry. You understand? All right, let's get it, man. Let's get that was number 25. All right, let's get Deuteronomy. It says God is going to torture us for our brother's sin, right, sir? Um, that is okay. That is that is true. We pay, yes, we pay for the actions of others. Like that's a very good point that the sister brought out. Like 24,000 of the children of Israel died just because some other brothers decided to have sex and to marry outside of Israel. You understand? We pay for the actions of others. Like that's why the Lord said, that's why Christ said, love thy brother as you love thyself. Because we suffer from another brother's or sister's actions. You understand? It may not hurt us directly, but it can hurt someone else. It could destroy someone else. That's why the Lord said, love thy brother as you would love thyself, and love the Most High with all thy heart, mind, and soul. Because you want to be considerate and think about what you do so others are not affected. The decisions that we make as a people does affect everyone else. And we have to make that very clear. You understand? And the Lord will teach you a very great lesson if you don't give a goddamn. And that was that lesson. The Lord, the Lord sent a plague to Israel. And then some silly, stupid brother decided to put on top of the evil to bring some Midianitish woman in front of the entire congregation and Israel, and the entire congregation of Israel and Moses. You understand? Like that was ridiculous. The brother got up, took the javelin, and killed the brother, and enslaved the brother. Why? Because we needed this evil to stop. You understand? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land, whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee. Like when we were supposed to go into the land of Canaan, because the land of Canaan was the land that the Lord promised to the children of Israel. Those people that were living in the land of Canaan, they no longer belong there, because this was the land that the Lord wanted us to have and to prosper in and to be successful in and to be empowered in the authority in. And have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. So these were the nations in the land of Canaan, living in the land of Canaan, and they were very great and they were very strong and they were mighty in the children of Israel. All right, at this time. Verse 2. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, like the Lord is going to deliver these nations to us. Like we have to understand when the Lord is on our side, the Lord will deliver our enemies to us. And we would have nothing to worry about and we have nothing to be afraid of. That's why in the book of Joshua, in the book of Judges, we were going to war after war after war with these nations, and we were winning them, and we were destroying these nations and wiping them out, all right, because the Lord was with us, and this was the land that the Lord wanted us to have. Thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. So this was the law. This was what the Lord said. We were to destroy these nations in here. And we were to utterly destroy them and smite them. You understand? Meaning to go to war with them. You understand? When we get into this land. Thou shalt make no covenant with them. Meaning we were never supposed to make treaties or agreements with them. We were supposed to be separate from them, nor show mercy unto them. Meaning we should not show compassion towards them. Because once we start showing them mercy, then they live. And then we want to join ourselves with them, and then we're going to end up serving their gods. Like this is what happens. The Lord is going to explain this exactly why we should not make covenants with them and why we should not have mercy on them. Verse 3, neither shall thou make marriages with them, Salakia. Neither shall they make marriages with them. Meaning, neither shall we make marriages with them. Neither shall we lay down with them and build families together with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son. Meaning, if you have a daughter, if you are so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native American, and she is a daughter, all right, you are not to give them, you are not to give your daughter away in marriage to some Edomite, to some other nation of people. Do not be the Williams sisters. Do not be like Serena Williams, all right, and go ahead and marry some Edomite, or marry some oppressor, or marry some Irish man, or some German, or some Polish, and a little bit of Swedish man, or Italian, or whatever the hell he may be. So like it, do not be that. That's what the Lord said, thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Meaning, your son should not take the daughters of these people. Don't be a Tiger Woods. Don't be a Kanye West. You understand? Like, you are not to be like these men. Don't be a Lamar Odom. Like, do not be these people, man. Do not be a there's other brothers out there. Like, do not be these brothers that go get you a German, or get you a Korean, or get you some Ethiopian, or get you a Pakistani, or an Iranian, or some Russian, or some East Indian. Like, the Lord is not with it. The Lord is absolutely against it. That's why it says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Like, this is throughout the Bible, that the Lord does not want us to marry outside of our nation, outside of our ethnic group. The Lord does not want it. The Lord has never ordained. It says, for they will turn away thy son from following me. Like, this is why the Lord does not want us to go outside of these nations now. The Lord does not want us to go outside and marry these other nations, Salakia, because this is what's going to happen. We will serve by all pure. We will stay Christian. We will stay Catholics. We will stay Muslims. Like, this is what we will do. We will still smoke weed and get high. We will stop. We will continue to pop mollies and Percocets. We will still lace our weed with cough syrup and smoke it and get high and damn near die over overdose, all right, and die from an overdose. You understand? Like Juice WRLD. You understand? Like DMX. Like, this is what will happen. It says, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. Like, we are going to serve other gods when we decide, right? When we decide to make marriages with these other people, and we decide to marry and lay down with these other nations of people, we are going to end up serving other gods. The Lord does not want you to serve any other God but him. This is the danger, all right? This is the danger. The Lord sent a plague. It killed 24,000 of the children of Israel for this very thing, for marrying outside of your nation of people and end up serving another God. This is what happened. This is what the Lord did. All right. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Like, this is what's going to happen. The Lord is going to destroy us for going outside and marrying these other nations. Like, that's why the Black community, like Martin Luther King, let's bring this out real quick. I want everyone to know this. And everyone should know this right here. Martin Luther King, MLK, sold out his people so he can have sex, right? So he can have sex with so-called white women, with those prostitutes, all right? That's what Martin Luther King did. And he joined his entire nation of people with these disgusting, murderous, vile people. That's what he did. So he can continue to have sex with Irish and German and Polish and British, French women. You get the point of who those people are. All right. That's what Martin Luther King did. And because of so, now you have now our communities are drug infested. That's why the Lord said, and destroy these suddenly. Now our communities are drug infested. Now our neighborhoods are filled with crack, filled with coke, filled with Molly's and Percocets, filled with codeine. Now our communities are filled with violence and shootings and gangs. Now the mass incarceration rate is at an all-time high. Now prostitution is at an all-time high in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Now there's sex trafficking. Now our daughters are no longer safe to play in the neighborhood like it used to be. You understand? Now we're finding our daughters in the woods or in freezers with no organs inside. Like that's why the Lord said, and destroy these suddenly. Like this is the anger of the Lord. And this is what's destroying us suddenly because we want to marry outside of our nation of people. Martin Luther King wanted to make marriages and have sex with Irish, Polish, Swedish, British, French whores. You get the point. So much he sold out his people and joined us to another nation of people. And because of so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. That's why our neighborhoods are destroyed. That's why our cities are destroyed. That's why the projects are the projects. That's why we have drug dealers. That's why we have drug addicts. That's why we have prostitution. That's why we have whores. That's why there's a bunch of strip clubs filled with Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. That's why our sisters on these reservations are being stolen and abducted and sex trafficked throughout the United States of America. This is why. Because of Black, Hispanic, and Native American leaders like Martin Luther King, who wanted to join ourselves with another nation of people, and then also on top of that, marry them and have sex with them. This is what happens. I'm not making this up. This is what the Lord said. All right. Let's get selected. Let's get first. Let's get First Kings chapter 11. Let's get First Kings chapter 11. Now, everyone, make sure y'all share this class, share it to your pages, and make sure you take a whole bunch of notes on these classes, man. Especially this class too, of course. You know, I'm giving y'all the majority. I'm trying to get through all these precepts, by the way, of the Lord being against joining ourselves with another nation of people and marrying outside of our nation of people. All right. First Kings chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women. Now, King Solomon, he loved many strange women. King Solomon was going after women outside of the nation of Israel. Who are these strange women who King Solomon loved? It says, together with the daughter of Pharaoh. The daughter of Pharaoh, meaning this was a daughter of the Egyptians, meaning this was an African woman. Women of the Moabites. This is talking about the so-called Chinese. The Ammonites. This is talking about the so-called Japanese. Edomites. Right here, Edomites. This is talking about the so-called our oppressor. That's talking about the Irish. That's talking about the Swedish and the Polish and the British and the French and the Portuguese and the Spaniards and the Russians and the Italians and the Germans. Like that's who that's talking about. Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, other Africans, understand? Other African women. Like this is who King Solomon loved. Verse 2. Of the nation, of the nations, concerted which the Lord said unto the children of Israel. It says of the nations, meaning talking about the nations he just listed. The nations that the nations that the Lord just listed in verse 1 of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, meaning the nations above that was just listed of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them. It was said to the children of Israel that you should not go into the daughters of Pharaoh. It was said unto the children of Israel, you cannot go into the women of the Moabites. It was said to the children of Israel, you cannot go into the women of the Ammonites. The Lord said to the children of Israel, you cannot go into the women of the Edomites, or the Zidonians, or the Hittites. The Lord said that. Unless you're calling the Lord a liar right here, verse 2, the Lord has had to say it. Neither shall they come in unto you. This sounds familiar, right? Right? This sounds very familiar. It's almost like this is a repeat from what we just read. For surely, they will turn away your heart after their gods. Once again, like this is what the Lord just said in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1, all the way down to verse 5. So like in verse 4, that we were not supposed to make marriages with them or have covenants with them or have mercy on them, because if we do, we're going to end up marrying them and having sex with them and building families with them, and then eventually we are going to turn ourselves away from serving the God of Israel, and we are going to end up serving other gods. Like this is what's going to happen. Aina God and Hadazan. Sit down, Bubu Kushah. Like this is what's going to happen. Do you understand? For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon cleaved unto these in love. King Solomon, by loving these women, by loving the Moabite women, by loving the Ammonite women, by loving the Edomite women, we King Solomon, end up cleaving himself unto these gods, unto their gods. That's what the Lord is saying. You understand? That's what the Lord just said. I want everyone to understand this very main point. All right? So like it. The Lord wants you to understand, when you go outside of your nation of people and you build a family with another nation of people and you start loving that woman, right? You're going to love their gods and you're going to serve their gods. That's why Black, Hispanic, and Native American men are still Christian in Catholics and Muslims today. Because we want to marry outside of our nation of people, and by loving those women, we end up serving these gods that they serve. You're going to end up serving the God and loving the God of the woman you love. That's what happened to King Solomon. And since he loved all of his women, he was serving a bunch of gods, and the Lord was against it. Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. All the wives he had turned away his heart from the God of Israel, because they came, some of them, like it, some of them came from other nations of people. If he just had 1,000 wives of Black, Hispanic, and Native American women and Israelite women, this would have never happened, because they all would have served the God of this Bible. But because he went outside of Israel, now he's serving the gods of another nation of people. So like, verse 4. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. When his heart was old, it says when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. When you get older, this is what happens. When you get older, you start to diminish, like you start to diminish in strength. All right, you start to diminish in power. Your mind ain't working the same no more like it used to. And when King Solomon was young, he was for the Lord. He would have never done no crazy stuff like this. But because he's older now, all right, he's diminishing because in his old age, all right, his wives end up turning his heart away from serving the Lord, away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. King David, like the King David's heart was perfect with the Lord. All right. King David's heart was perfect with the Lord. And the Most High wanted King Solomon, right, heart to be perfect just as much, right, as his father's heart was. Now we're going to read now. Now we're going to continue to read, right, because this is not the first time this has happened. Verse 5. For Solomon went after Azareth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Like these were the gods that he decided to serve. Verse 6. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord as did David his father. He didn't do what his father David did. He did the complete opposite of what King David did. You understand? Verse 7. Then did Solomon build in high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Like he was building up temples, man. He was building up high places for these gods. And this was evil in the sight of the Lord. Verse 8, and likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods. He did this, all right? Like he did this for all. You're on the ball. You're on the ball. You're on the ball, Shariah. Appreciate that. All right? And it says right here, and likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods. You understand? He did this for all his wives. And this was evil in the sight of the Lord. Verse 9. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned away from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. Meaning this is not the first time. All right. So now the Lord is going to have to do something about it. Verse 10. And had commanded him concerning this thing, and he should not go after other gods. This was, once again, this is not his first time doing it. This is like the second time. And the Lord said, once again, you are not to go after other gods. How many times I got to tell you? Remember, the God is black. God is a black father. The Most High is black. The Most High is Hispanic. The Most High is Native American. That's what I mean by black. You understand? That's what I mean by black. Like, the Lord is so Puerto Rican, you have no idea. The Lord is so Native American, you have no idea. The Lord is so black, you have no idea. When I say the Lord is black and the Most High is black, I'm talking about the spirit of what we have now is the spirit that the Lord has. The way he talks, the way he operates, talking about who you playing with, who you think you're talking to. You make me hot. I'm heated right now. Like the way we talk, the way we operate, that spirit from the Lord. Why we throw D? The reason why we throw D's on our Cadillacs, and we got these rims, the 36-inch rims on our cars, because the Lord has rims on his throne. Course and fire. You understand? That's the spirit of the Lord. You understand? So I want y'all to understand this. This is the last time. This is a black father. And the Lord's like, yo, this is the last time I'm gonna tell you. That's it. This is it. But this is about the fourth or sixth time I had to tell you. All right. But he kept not that which the Lord commanded. He didn't do what the Lord said to do. Verse 11. So this is what the Lord said he was going to do. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, like this is what the Lord said to King Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, because you did not keep what I told you to do, and you did not listen to what I said to do, I will surely rend, meaning to take, right, the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servants. That's what the Lord said He's going to do. But this is why the kingdom was taken away from King Solomon. All right, because the Lord was against our people marrying outside of the nation of Israel. You were never supposed to get a woman and marry a woman outside of Israel, and vice versa. You were never, if you were a woman, you were never to go outside of the nation of Israel and get you a man to marry. The Lord is not with it. The Lord is not okay with it, and the Lord is absolutely against it. You understand? Real quick, let's get Nehemiah. We're gonna end it with Nehemiah, man. Let's get Nehemiah chapter 13. We're gonna start at verse 23. Let's get Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. Now I want y'all to understand something, man. I want y'all to take as much notes as possible. All right? Take as much notes as possible if you can. And like and share and subscribe to our channels and share these classes, man. Don't forget to do it. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod. Now, if you don't know what Ashdod, that's talking about, that's like Palestine. Those are Ashdod. I believe those are the Philistines, all right? The Palestinians, all right? Philistines, all right? Of Ammon and of Moab. So Nehemiah saw in the days of the Jews, they married wives, meaning brothers took wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, the so-called Japanese, and of Moab, which is the so-called the so-called Chinese. At the end of the day, right? These are people that come from another nation of people. These are people that are outside of the nation of Israel. These are people that are outside of the nation of the Jews. You understand? All right. Verse 24. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod. So they spoke half. So in their children, meaning the children, and their seed that came from them, spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language. Meaning they could only speak in their mother's language. They can only speak in the language of Ashdod instead of speaking the language that God allowed us to have. I want everyone to understand it. Because we decided to marry outside of our nation, all right, it says it could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. But they could speak in the language of the Ammonites, and they could speak into the language of the Moabites, and they could speak of the language of the people of Ashdod, but they could not speak the Hebrew. They could not speak the Lashon Kodash. When we decide to marry outside of our nation, we diminish our culture. When we marry these other nations, we diminish our heritage. We slowly diminish who we are. I want y'all to understand something. The language that we speak, that makes us who we are. You can be able to identify a person by the language that they speak. You can identify an individual or a nation of people by the language that they speak. Also, you can identify a nation on what they do and how they dress and what they wear, what they cook, and etc., etc. Like, this is a part of our identity. The Hebrew language is a part of our identity. The Hebrew language separates us from other people. The Hebrew language allows other people to identify us as Israelites, as Hebrews. For us to be able to say Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Barakatam or Yahweh Shema Alatam Ba'ashem Yahushua, you understand? Or Anya Hawalak Anya Hawalak Lama or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? Or Kwam Yasha Allah, you understand? Or even say, or Babal, Babal, Waham, Wa Adawam, you know what I'm saying? Tha Napalna. Like anything else like that, by being able to speak the Hebrew language, understand? By being able to speak the language of our forefathers, that allows us to have an identity. That allows us to hold on to our heritage. By marrying these other nations, that diminishes your culture. That diminishes who you are. You understand? By joining another nation of people, starts to diminish your culture and to diminish who you are and slowly take away your identity. Do you understand? That's the spirit behind it. And Nehemiah saw this, and this was Nehemiah's response. And I contended with them. Nehemiah fought them. Contend means to fight. Nehemiah was whooping their tail and cursed them. You understand? And smote certain of them. You understand? Like Nehemiah whooped their tail. You understand? So bad to the break of death, man. And plucked off their hair. Nehemiah started to take the hairs off of their head. Imagine having braids and Nehemiah is ripping the hairs out of your head because you can't speak the Hebrew. You understand? Because you slack it. Because you can't speak the Hebrew. Because you can't speak the Lashon Kodash. Because Nehemiah saw our culture being diminished. Nehemiah saw our heritage being diminished. Nehemiah saw our identity being diminished. And that's why he did this. And made them swear by God. So while he's whooping their tail, this is black. You gotta understand. This is a black man right here. This is a Haitian right here. Nehemiah is whooping that tail. He's saying, "You swear to God." He says, "Swear to God, my dude." While he's whooping his tail, pulling, beating the hell out of him, he's saying, "Yo, swear on God. I want you to put this on God. Swear to God." Right? This is what he said. Say it. Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. He made them swear by God while whooping their tail that you don't give your sons to their daughters, and you do not give your daughters to their sons, or you don't even take, right? Or you don't even take their daughters or their sons for yourselves. And here's why. Because that's the spirit of what will happen. That's why I wish I couldn't get to it today, of course. All right, but that's a breakdown of its own. That's why Ezra was in a state of an emergency, and we had to separate ourselves from these other nations of people and separate ourselves from the heathen wives and children that we had, because this was the spirit. This is the spirit of what was going to happen. When you decide to marry another nation of people, then your children are going to want to marry that nation as well, and then the generation after that will want to marry outside their nation, and the generation after that will decide to marry outside of the nation. And then you'll have it, then there's going to come a time and point that you'll have a generation that doesn't see anything wrong with marrying a Chinese. Then you'll have a generation that sees nothing wrong with marrying an Irish woman, or marrying a German woman, or marrying a Russian woman, or marrying a Spaniard woman, or marrying an Arab woman, or marrying an English woman, or marrying an African woman, or marrying an East Indian woman. You'll eventually have a generation that thinks that it's okay and it's right to marry outside of their nation of people. And then they'll think that they're so right that they'll never see it being wrong. That's the generation we live in today. That's what Nehemiah was trying to stop. That's why Nehemiah made them swear to God, you shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. That's the spirit behind it. because generations to come, the next generation will think that it's okay to marry outside of their nation, and then it'll get to a point where you, your people are non-existent. Remember, we make a lot of daughters, then we make sons. Imagine a point that all of our daughters decide to just marry a whole bunch of Irishmen and some African men, or some East Indian men, or some Arab men. Now there's no more Israelites. Now there's no more Jews. Now you have nothing but Arabs and Irish and Africans on the earth. That's that's the spirit behind why Nehemiah was making them swear to God while whooping their tail that you don't do this. Verse 26. Did not Solomon, did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Meaning, did not King Solomon do this very same thing? And it was a sin against the Lord. Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Right? Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. It says outlandish. Does anyone know what an outlandish woman is? All right. Marrying outlandish woman is a woman that's not from your land, a woman that's not from your nation. You understand? This is what King Solomon did, and King Solomon sinned against the Lord. Verse 27. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? So now he's saying, shall we do this very same thing and follow you, right? And listen to you and do all these things? Which is a sin against the Lord? Of course, absolutely not. All right? This is the purpose of it, man. Like Nehemiah understood the spirit of what was going on, and Nehemiah was trying to put a stop to it. So like I kind of went over time, but I definitely wanted to get Nehemiah chapter 13. All right. Make sure you like and share and subscribe. I say Amani, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to encourage salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Amani Shabbat, Amani Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Brakathah, Yadim Matah, Saul Agwafi, which turns to the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to encourage salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amani Shabbat, Amani Barak, Yahweh Shamar Al-Athar Ba'ashim Yahushua, Yadim Matah. With that, class dismissed.